Hello everybody and welcome back. And right now let us see some of the post-exploitation modules that you can run after you fully exploit the target. So in the previous videos we saw how we can gain and access the system privileges in Windows 10 machine. And we also saw how we can actually prevent anyone from doing that on our own machine. But right now, let us see some of the post-exploitation modules that we can use. So right here, if we type here sessions, I have two sessions. One of them is the 4 and one of them is the 5. The 5 one has the system privileges. Well, not yet, but the get system command will work on the 5 since I use the FOD helper exploit. And the 4 one we can close since that is the first session that we have open. So sessions.i4. And we can exit that. Now we clear and we enter the sessions -i5 get system. I already covered all of this, and right now if I type here get UID, we are the system privilege account. So first of all, there is a module that is called sniffer, which allows us to basically sniff packets from our target machine. The interpreter has the capability of packet sniffing the remote host without basically ever touching the hard disk. It is useful when we want to monitor what type of information is being sent, and even better, this is probably the start of multiple auxiliary modules that will ultimately look for sensitive data within the capture files. Now, the sniffer module can store up to 200,000 packets in a ring buffer and exports them in a standard pkep file format, so you can process them using Wireshark later on, for example. So once we exploit the target, basically what you want to just type here is use sniffer, and it will say loading extension sniffer success. So all we want to do right now is to check our available options with the help command. And right here at the bottom we will see that it added the sniffer commands, which is sniffer dump, sniffer interfaces, sniffer release, start, stats, and stop. Now, before we begin the sniffing, we actually want to see the available network interfaces on the target. So if we just type here sniffer interfaces, let me just see, sniffer, why is this the incorrect function? Copy, sniffer interface operation failed, incorrect function. Let me just type here sniffer dump, or sniffer, and then maybe this. So it doesn't want to work, not really sure why. Thought it would work. Let me just type help once again and type sniffer interfaces. Okay, so this one doesn't work for some reason, but luckily we have an alternative for this. So the alternative is the packet recorder, so we will just type here run packet recorder, and it will run a module packet recorder for us. As we can see, it basically even gives us our available options at the start of it. So interpreter scripts are deprecated, try post Windows OK. So these are just some of the errors, or not errors, some of the options that we can do. Now below we have the commands list, so what we want to do is check the running interfaces, something that we tried with the sniffer command, but it simply didn't work. So let us try with this one, maybe this one will work. So packet recorder minus, I believe we should specify LE, specify the alternative folder to save pkep files, and interface ID number where all packet captures will be done. So it will show us, I believe, our available interfaces right now. Interpreter scripts starting sniffer on interface 1, error starting packet capture, operation failed, incorrect function. Not really sure why it gives us these options. Maybe I am specifying something incorrectly. The -LE. Oh, so it's the capital L. I remembered it to be the -LE, so the capital L is actually the listing of interfaces that can be used for capture. but it still says incorrect function. since we can see right here it actually uses the sniffer interfaces function, that's why it doesn't work. That's why this one doesn't work as well. Now you can try on your own PC, maybe this will work for you. Basically what you want to do is basically select first the interface and then start sniffing in the .kep file. Then you can see all the packets that the target processed in the current time in the .kep file that you saved it via Wireshark. But right now we won't really bother with this anymore. What we want to do is basically use a module that, for example, works, such as, let's say we want to run an ARP scanner on the target. So run, the module is called post windows gather and then ARP_scanner, and then we want to select the R hosts which we want to scan, and let's say we want to scan 192.168.1.1 and then 224, which will basically, I believe, scan all of the hosts and their MAC addresses. It will print us everything that is currently on our local network. As we can see, ARP scanning is running and it found out these 5 devices. Now, I believe there won't be really any more devices. These are all that are currently on my network. As we can see, the Huawei router right here, my laptop, which is .1.15, Windows 10 machine, this is Kali Linux machine, and this right here, I have no idea what it is. Yeah, this is the another interface for our Windows 10 machine. So this is the wireless interface for Windows 10 machine. Good. So this is another useful thing if you want to see the devices on the target's network. If you are not on the local network, you won't be able to see other devices in case you're doing this attack over internet. So this is just a local attack for now, and I will show you later on how you can port forward and actually run this attack over the world if you want to, in the other continent, for example. Now let me just see if this is finished. We will close it since it doesn't seem to finish. Maybe it just takes a lot of time to scan all of the 255 hosts. But the next module I want to show you, let me just background this and clear this a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. So the next module I want to show you is an imported one. It is used many times by hackers in malwares where they want to check if the current malware or current virus is running in the virtual machine. Now, why does this function exist? Well, basically, hackers want to run a function that will check if the virus has been opened in a virtual machine, since that will probably mean that someone is trying to reverse engineer that virus and uses a virtual machine to do that. So then the virus, for example, once it sees that it is actually running in a virtual machine, it just decides not to run anymore, and then the user that actually tries to reverse engineer the malware can't really see what the malware is doing, since it refuses to run, since it saw that it is in a virtual machine. Now, in order to check if your target is running on a virtual machine, you can just run post windows gather and then check VM, which checks virtual machine. And this will check if our Windows 10 is a virtual machine, which it isn't. As it says right here, desktop appears to be a physical machine. So this means that our target is not running Windows 10 on a virtual machine, which is correct, since we are not. The next one, which could also be useful, is the credential collector. It will basically give you the hashes of the accounts on the Windows machine. So the module is called run. So just type here run. Basically the run command just runs the module that you specify after that, and then post windows, since we're on the Windows machine, gather, since we're gathering some credentials, so we specify credentials. Let me just see why it, okay. And then credential underscore collector. And hopefully this will print out all of the hashes for our accounts. So, running module error accessing hashes. Did you migrate to a process that matched the target's architecture? What do you mean by that? Did you migrate the process? But we can try another one, which is basically giving us the hash password of the administrator, I believe. So it is called, let me just check, I believe it is called something like this. So post windows gather. Now most of these post exploitation tools will start with post windows gather, and then what we want to do is hash dump. Let's see if this one will work. Obtaining the boot key calculating the HP, obtaining the user list and keys, okay. And this one did work. We were able to get the hashed passwords. Now, for example, you can then copy some of these. You can, for example, copy the administrator, so just copy this one right here. And you would be able to use another module in Kali Linux called the PS execute, which is also a Metasploit module, in order to set the SMB path to be this hashed value right here, and you would be able to exploit over port 443 with the SMB path. So you just set this hashed value as the SMB path in that module, and you will be able to get another interpreter shell with that. So that is also a useful thing to do. The next thing that you want to do is basically another module that we can run, which is basically you can use the dumplings module, which is basically it parses the .ink files in our user recent documents, which could be useful for further information gathering, for example. So in order to do that, you can just type here run post windows, and then you can just type here gather dumplings. I believe it is like this. So you just run this and it will give you all of the specified message could not be found. Post windows gather dumplings. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It is not that important of a module anyway. We will not be bothering ourselves to find it right now. What we can do is we can see all the applications that are installed on a compromised host. So you do that with this module, run post. Yeah, and this is probably the reason why it didn't work. I specified the slash in the front, which I shouldn't have, but it doesn't really matter at the moment. We'll just go to the next one. So post windows gather, and then enum applications. And this will print out all of the applications installed on the host that you have hacked, which could be useful for you in order to see what the host has up and running and what the host has installed. So we can see there are a bunch of these. Since this is a real machine that I used before, we can see WinCap, WinRAR, bunch of the Visual Studios, and so on and so on. Now, I'm not really sure what these numbers right here are. Oh, this is the version, so it even gives you the version of the programs running, so we can see a bunch of Python versions, OpenOffice, Razor Cortex, and a bunch of these different applications. Another post-exploitation module that you can use is the enum logged on users, which returns a listing of current and recently logged on users along with their SIDs, which would be useful for you. So you just type here run post windows gather, and then enum underscore logged underscore on underscore users. And this should print out all the users that have recently logged in. So running, I guess, session 3, we can see right here that the one of them is system and the one of them is the user account. So it even saves this into a file at this location right here. So root and then the Metasploit 4 and then here, so you can delete it if you want to. It even saves the file right here at this location, at this path. You can check it out in there if you want to, or you can delete it. So that would be about it for this module for now on. Now in the next video I will show you how you can actually run the same attack that we did right now over the internet. So this is only a local area attack. What you want to do is do a port forwarding on your router and actually perform the same attack. So I will show you how to do that in the next video, and I hope I see you there.